Paranormal Playback is a podcast where we recap the spooky and entertaining world that is paranormal reality TV. We are hosted by Acast. Warning: Paranormal Playback contains amusing stories about bros, hair gel, and we suspect Axe body spray, as well as dark stories, which may include suicide, pregnancy loss, abortion, sexual assault, and murder. It is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Okay.
We're starting from the beginning?
Round
Jesus.
2.
That didn't sink in for you, Lauren?
Y'all.
Until I saw like the intro, I was like, oh my God.
It's okay. We're going to do this. Guys.
I'm already on my second beer.
Guys. This is episode 7 of Paranormal Playback, and we just recorded, we thought we were recording probably the first 15 minutes of this episode, only to discover that we were not recording.
Yep.
Yay!
Yay!
Just know that all of our jokes landed perfectly, and you guys would have laughed hysterically.
Yes.
So,
and we are doing this for you. We are doing this for you guys.
We are doing this for you guys, like
Yes.
Aaron says. Okay, so we're just going to get right into this because, we are already 15 minutes behind in our recording. We are so excited about all of the all the ghost stories that y'all have left us. We got a lot of DMs on our TikTok post asking for ghost stories. And so we are planning an upcoming listeners episode, and we're looking for you guys to submit your spookiest, scariest tales. So you can feel free to do that on our TikTok. You can leave us a DM or on Instagram, or if you'd prefer, you can call our new spirit line, where you can leave us a voicemail with your ghost story, and we'll actually play you telling the story on our podcast. The phone number is 404-981-4533. So please tell us all the spooky things that have happened to you. We want to hear them all. Even better if they're like pet related, or like you got something at an antique store and it all of a sudden things started happening.
I was going to say real quick, something that made me laugh on the TikTok video, because Lauren's comment said, hey, shadow people, blah, blah, blah. Did you guys see? There's a person with like the username shadow person, and they wrote in the comments,
I've been summoned.
Yes.
Or like, or you called.
It was like, does someone call?
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm wondering if they follow. I'm sure they follow it. The hashtag, and they're like, "You called."
It
made funny.
It made me laugh really hard. I was like, "How Reddit of you over here on TikTok, sir? I love it."
That makes me so happy.
And that was it.
That was it.
That was it.
As it should be. It was perfect. It was clean.
It was
no notes.
Chef's kiss.
He understands, or she or they understand their voice and tone.
Yeah,
they've nailed it.
They understood the assignment.
Yes. And then additionally, to explain to YouTube, I had my reconstructive surgery this week, so that is why I'm in bed. Woohoo! So I got my fresh new cancer paid for boobies. So I might just be a little under.
Thanks, cancer.
The weather. Thanks, cancer. The only thing.
The silver lining.
Woo!
Well, we're so glad that you are okay, Mel, and
sticking it out for this episode.
Yes. Considering that we just recorded 15 minutes, that is not going to be here. So this week we're covering Ghost Adventures, season 29, episode 2, the Houdini Séance. So I definitely struggled with the connection here this week. Basically, they're trying to say that the Houdini Séance that they're going to do is in the Winchester mansion because 100 years ago, Houdini came to this mansion
for one night.
One night and did a séance to try to debunk I guess it was Sarah Winchester, tried to debunk that she could actually like be a medium or that anything was happening.
I don't think he was debunking that she's a medium. I think he was debunking that there were spirits.
That there were spirits, right.
Yeah.
But he couldn't disprove it. And
He
this was
couldn't.
the
It's
one place.
correct.
Yeah. This was the one place.
And it was
could
the
not disprove
100-year anniversary. I don't know if you said that. But
Yes. So we go to the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. And they did not investigate the house, but I did discover that they do investigate the house in earlier seasons. So when we do our rewatch, we will be able to see the investigation, and I'm excited to see them like go through the maze that is the Winchester Mystery House. If you're not familiar, and Mel will get into this in a second, but the Winchester Mystery House is basically a house that never ends for the most part. I mean, yes, it does end in theory, but you can just keep going and going. There's trapdoors and secret pathways, and it's very, very creepy.
And staircases that don't go to anywhere.
Staircases that go nowhere.
Yeah.
So we have been talking since episode 1 about wanting to go to the Winchester Mystery House.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I feel like it's just calling to us. We
Absolutely.
need to go. Okay, so Zach explains to us why they brought us to this Winchester? My God.
Winchester?
Jinx. Winchester Mystery House this week is because in the midst of a 1924 nationwide tour, Houdini made a midnight visit to the Winchester Mansion.
Okay, I have a question about that.
Yes.
Was it an uninvited? Like
He just showed up.
yeah.
Harry here.
Yeah. Like, did she, because if it's such an enormous house, like,
Well, she's dead.
was she
Well,
dead
not
when
at
he
this-
came?
No. She was alive when he was there.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure she was not.
I'm almost...
When Houdini went?
When did he go?
Oh, you're right. Because
Yeah, he had died 2 years before.
John Brown was the owner.
Oh, yeah, because
and
he
he sent
signed
him
the
that
paper.
article.
Okay.
I did not realize that. So
But,
then,
but still, was he invited or did he just show up?
Maybe he was
'cause-
invited by one of the spirits.
Yeah.
he felt drawn to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just picturing him like drunk, like banging on the door.
Hey,
let me in.
guess who? It's Houdini.
It's Houdini. I want to talk to your spirits.
Look, I got inside the house without a key. No keys.
No key needed. The spirits unlocked the door for me.
Yeah.
So,
Or I'm Houdini. I don't need doors.
Yeah, I don't need keys.
this is true. He could, yeah. He's the magician of all magicians.
He's the escape artist, not necessarily the break-in artist.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah. So the tour he was on was basically where he was working to debunk spiritualists and mediums. He was trying to debunk that like what they were doing
Was fake.
was, he wanted to prove that it was real, but by doing that, by trying to prove it was real, he kept debunking them. And so he would expose the people who were fake because he was like, no, I can figure out how you're doing that, because he's a musician. A musician? Magician. I am not drunk. I don't know why my words are coming out wrong.
Sure.
He was a magician and an escape artist. So he could tell when they were like doing, switch, what is it called? Sleight of hand things
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
I have like a little chunk I can throw in here about Harry. So he did spend the last chunk of his life, like you were saying, Charlie, trying to debunk mediums and spiritualists. But that's because his mother died in 1913. So like many grief-stricken people of the time, i.e. Sarah Winchester, he turned to séances for comfort. But he hated what he found there. Most of them were fakes, and Houdini then made it his mission to call them out.
Yeah.
So
and
he was like upset because he couldn't reach out to his.
He'd been wronged.
I know this story from other podcasts that I've listened to, and I believe that it was actually that a spiritualist tried to say that she was hearing from his mother and that she was saying XYZ, but she was saying it in English, and his mother didn't speak English.
Oh.
And so he was like, there's no way that's my mother. If that was my mother coming through you, because I think she was pretending to like be his mother, like a medium would. And she was like, if that's my mother coming through you, she would be speaking German. She wouldn't be speaking, or whatever it was, Hungarian. She wouldn't be speaking English. So I think that's like what set it off, which is pretty interesting. So supposedly he went to the Winchester mansion to try to do another debunking or to see if there was activity there. So Zak, he, like we said, he couldn't actually prove anything. So Zak then poses the question, is this the place that proved the paranormal for Harry Houdini? We're about to find out.
I actually do have here that Houdini, held his own seance there on Halloween night and called it the Mystery House. He was never sold on the ghost part, but he was definitely intrigued by the architectural chaos and lore. So he basically saw it as a physical manifestation of spiritual obsession and possibly exploitation. A house built not to honor the dead, but to outrun them.
I like how they're like, he coined the name Winchester Mystery House like it's like some great name that I'm like, great. You named it the Mystery House.
It's so
like,
good.
like, who cares? Great. Yeah. You named it the Mystery House.
Yep. Good job.
Good job.
He was not a copywriter. Let's just put it
I was like,
not.
So the guys are gentlemen, all head into the grand ballroom of the Winchester Mystery House. It's this beautifully ornate room. They kept everything. It appears that everything was kept that was originally there. There was like wooden staircases and furniture that appeared to be from the time. I don't know if it was original to the house or not, but it was very beautiful. And then we have this fun juxtaposition of this classic Victorian. Is it Victorian, Mel?
Yeah, it's in the Victorian era. It's like a Queen Anne.
It's a very like Victorian room. And then we have Billy and Jay sitting on a love seat together, wearing all black and wearing their baseball caps. And
like two little kids.
Like two little kids.
With their cargo shorts.
Yeah, with their cargo shorts on. They look like the Bobbsey twins, or I was thinking like Flopsum and Jepsum from The Little Mermaid. So,
little two Pete's in a pod.
But then we see Aaron, and Aaron looks like he belongs in this room. He's sitting in a chair on his own. He looks like he's aged gracefully with his salt and pepper beard, and he appears to be much wiser than he did in his younger years. He just fits very well in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So Zak begins talking to the guys, and he says, Harry Houdini, very mysterious man, very magical man.
No, the magician was mysterious.
And magical?
And magical.
I thought he'd be super forthright with his information. And magic.
So we learn the history of Harry Houdini, which Mel will be able to go into in a little bit more detail in a second. But if you're not familiar, Harry Houdini was an escape artist and a magician in the early 1900s. And Zak reminds us that as an escape artist, he was able to escape from handcuffs, straitjackets, and near drowning. It's kind of like, I know, Mel, you have mentioned to us before your obsession with Criss Angel. So he was the Criss Angel of the early 1900s.
Hold on. My 2008 Melanie obsession with Criss Angel. I do not have a poster on my bedroom wall of him right now. Okay.
You didn't name your son Chris?
No.
in dedication to Criss Angel?
You did name him Angel, though.
No, I didn't. Criss Angel, if you're listening.
Pre-lip filler.
Big fan.
Pre-lip filler Criss Angel.
A little 18-year-old me thought you could walk on water.
And thought you walked on water.
Yeah.
So Zak tells us it's the 100-year anniversary of Houdini's presence in this extremely mysterious and haunted mansion. So, Mel, can you tell us a little bit more about Houdini and the Winchester House?
Okay, guys, we're tuning in with our first ever little segment we like to call This Old Haunt, where we will be covering the Winchester House this time. I don't know if any of you, like Lauren and I, if your parents or you yourself watched This Old House, but This Old Haunt felt appropriate.
For all the haunted homes that we investigate.
Yes. This old haunt, unless it's a new haunt, then we'll still call it old. This old haunt. Yeah, we'll take the D off. This old haunt. This old haunt. Yes. So first I'll walk you through the mystery house in general. So Sarah Lockwood Pardee marries William Wirt Winchester, who is heir to the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. So we're talking the gun that won the West and truly killed an unfathomable number of people. So big legacy, big money, big karma. In 1866, Sarah gave birth to their only child, Annie. But the baby dies just 6 weeks later from marasmus, which is a malnourishment disorder where the body literally wastes away, likely due to an underlying congenital condition. It was rare, tragic, and unfixable. Sarah is never the same after that. We fast forward to 1881, and William then dies of tuberculosis at 43. So now Sarah's alone, childless, and inherits $20 million, which is roughly $500 million today, plus a nearly 50% stake in the Winchester Company. So she owns half of the company and just has a casual half bill hanging around.
That's crazy that it was that much and it was still just 50% of it, though, if you think about it.
No, that's both things. So she got money, just like money that she inherited.
Oh, it was money plus 50% stake.
Money plus 50% stake.
I thought you meant that money was what 50% stake of the company. Gotcha.
Both. And then she was also bringing in about $1,000 a day in passive income. So fast forward a little bit, a Boston medium comes to Sarah's house and tells her the family is cursed, haunted by the souls of those killed by Winchester rifles. And her mission now must be to appease them by building a house and never stop. As in, if the hammer-in stops, she dies. So she packs up, heads west, and buys a modest farmhouse in San Jose, California. So here's where Sarah kind of gets a little extra. For the next 38 years, she oversees nonstop construction. No blueprints, no architects, just chaos and carpenters on rotating shifts. And the result of that is 24,000 square feet of a labyrinth. This labyrinth consists of 161 rooms, 10,000 windows, 47 fireplaces, 40 staircases, 2 ballrooms, and of course, 1 very stressed tour guide per shift.
I'm sorry. Have you ever lived in a house that's been under construction before?
It's horrible.
Can you imagine? Granted, some of this was happening so far away from her because the place is so big.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah.
But I guess also, at least she had people around all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my thought, though. This medium is probably in cahoots with the contractor. It's like this person
was in a different city.
Yeah.
She was in Boston.
Who's to say that the contractor didn't live in a different city? Oh, yes.
What a wide network this contractor has to pull off such a con.
No, this is what I thought. Oh, yes, you must keep building or you will die. Or your soul will be in limbo forever. You must build this house or your spirit will,
Mm-hmm.
Why so specific? You must build a house.
Well, she didn't say the actual quote. When I listened to it back, I think you have a thought on it too, Lauren.
Yeah, I think it said the spirit rots in the house that does not grow, and that the reason a person dies is because that the person does not continue to build additions to the house.
I took that metaphorically, and I think they meant grow your family.
Yeah,
and she took it literally.
She took it very literally.
She would be miserable and rot in the house that does not grow, and she's miserable the whole time she's in the house because it's not growing and filled with family.
And she thought literally physically add as many rooms as possible.
Yes, must build a house.
Yes, must keep building.
But it makes me question Sarah Winchester's
mental capacity.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah, she lost her baby and her husband.
I wasn't even thinking that. I was just thinking maybe she wasn't the brightest. I mean, yes, those things too could affect you. But I'm maybe she wasn't the brightest person. I don't know, because that is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
this is what happens when you don't have anything to do and you have a lot of money.
Yep. So at the house, there were staircases that lead to ceilings. doors that open into brick walls or set in 2-story drops, windows in the floor, and secret passages everywhere. Sarah's logic was that the more confusing the house, the harder it is for spirits to find her. So it's almost like a paranormal Pac-Man trying to find her. Yeah. She was obsessed with the number 13. Windows with 13 panes, chandeliers modified to hold 13 candles, 13 hooks in the seance room.
That's so funny because so many people are afraid of the number 13.
I know.
Like, hotels don't have a 13th floor. Like,
yep. Well, so even weird. Her living will had 13 parts and was signed 13 times.
What?
Oh.
Yeah.
By her?
I think by witnesses maybe, or like executors or something. Like it required 13 signatures. I don't know.
Wow.
It reminds me of 13 Ghosts, which is a house.
13 Ghosts. It's a great movie.
Of ghosts who are controlled by a house.
Yeah. It's good. Wow. Old movie.
Mel, your sarcastic weather app was correct. It is now raining and thundering and lightning outside my window.
It's the best
Very
weather app.
Spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Still no frogs.
No frogs.
No, the frogs are probably like, we're going to call it a night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a seance room that is hidden in the middle of the house. It's only accessible by one entrance, but it has 3 exits.
How does that work?
Don't know.
I know. I'm like, wait, what? It has 3 exits, but 1 entrance. What happens if
Who
you
decides that they're exits and not entrance?
Right. Like, what happens if you exit through the entrance?
I don't know.
Is that not a fourth
I don't even
exit?
know. I don't even know. Maybe there are exits that I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to get back to you on what that means.
This is why we're going to have to go there.
So yeah, we got to figure out how you can have an entrance but no exit.
Mm-hmm. We have to ask all these questions.
It's like telling people you can't go up the stairs and only down the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But when you get on the highway and it says wrong way, but you go anyway.
No, Charlie. No, not exactly.
I'm just kidding, guys. I don't do that.
Don't let Charlie drive.
Oh man. No driving for Char. All right. So in 1906, there was a massive earthquake, which absolutely rocked San Jose, and Sarah was literally trapped in her bedroom. She, of course, took this as a sign that the spirits were angry, and instead of repairing the damage, she boarded up 30 rooms and kept building elsewhere. Must be nice to just be like, I messed up.
This also sounds a little like schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Does she ever leave her house?
I'm sure she doesn't have to. She's got everything she needs in there.
Yeah.
She could build a whole little town.
I would love, if we go, I want to ask them about, like, has anybody tried to diagnose what might have been going on with her in today, with today's knowledge? I'd love to understand that.
She probably surrounded herself that were on her payroll, though, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no one was trying to diagnose anything. They were
kind of
all
like Wendy Williams.
Yes, men.
She's kind of like what's her face from the White Lotus. Oh my god.
If it's the
Jennifer
third season,
Coolidge.
Oh yeah.
No,
exactly.
From the second one, like, well, so she did also ring a bell at midnight every night at 2 a.m., which some say was to summon and then dismiss spirits. So that's a little confusing. But Sarah did ultimately die in 1922 at age 82 of heart failure. No curse.
Hey, for back then,
that's
great.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, granted, she had like all the money in the world to live, but still.
But the house immediately went into private hands and was opened for tours within a year of her dying.
Yeah.
So that was John Brown.
Must have been.
Yeah. So John Brown, it sounds like, was the person who took over the house after her. And then he was like, all right, let's make some money.
Well, can you imagine the upkeep?
Oh yeah. The electricity bill. My God.
Well, I'm sure
I bet there are rooms that don't even get electricity.
Well, I'm sure, like, just in like big manors, they shut off parts of the house.
Right. Like they have different breaker boxes for the different.
Yeah, it's different zones.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, I have a few more of the reported hauntings, and then that's a wrap on this old haunt. So some reported hauntings include Clyde, air quotes, the spectral handyman, who's often seen pushing a wheelbarrow like he's still on the payroll. People
That's
also
so sad to think that.
Was he actually on the payroll? Was he actually a worker?
I think he was.
Okay.
He has a name. He's the only one that I saw with a name besides Sarah.
So they think it's actually Clyde who was the handyman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People hear disembodied voices. They're often cold spots and shadow people.
Ooh.
Shadow people moving in shadows. Shadow people. And then figures moving just out of sight. People often faint in the seance room. And guests claim that they were pushed on the famously narrow switchback stairs. And then, of course, there are sightings of Sarah herself, a veiled woman in black, forever walking the halls as she never finished. So I'm confused. So I know the woman in white is a thing.
Yeah.
Is a woman in black a thing? Can I be a woman in purple? Like, what's the deal here?
We never see a woman in a color. We often will see a woman in white. Sometimes you will see a woman in black. I've never heard of a woman in purple or red or pink.
Yeah. Because it's usually just like a light. It's just a light. So it's either like a light or darkness. So that's why we're not seeing the color.
Oh.
Why do I hear running water? Oh, is that the rain?
It is pouring outside my window.
It sounds lovely.
Guys, we're setting the mood for this seance, okay? It's raining outside. Enjoy the sounds, the soundscape. Okay, apparently years after Houdini's death, people started to want to try to do seances in the Winchester Mystery House, including Houdini's widow, Bess. So Zak explains that Houdini and his wife, Bess, had an understanding that the first to die would try to contact the other from the afterlife. And they even came up with a code phrase, Rosa Belle, believe. This is from one of their favorite songs. So after he died, Bess would try to contact him every year on Halloween, but she was never successful. In 1938, she decided she would try one more time. She had previously claimed her last attempt was in 1936.
Okay, so he said that, right? He said that he made it seem like they were doing seances in the Winchester, right?
That Bess was and so after Houdini died,
they weren't. She never actually did a seance in the Winchester.
They said that she had done her last attempt in 1936, but that wasn't at the Winchester Mystery House.
She never actually did a seance in the Winchester. She never actually did one.
Yeah, why would Houdini go there out of all places?
He made it seem like they did all these seances at the Winchester. She never actually did a single one at the Winchester. They were doing seances, we don't know where.
Got it. Okay.
So he was going through all of this explanation of these seances, never telling us where they were doing it. And he said the final attempt was going to be at the Winchester, but then she backed out at the last minute. Yeah. So it was never at the Winchester.
So there was never a Houdini seance at the Winchester.
There was never a Houdini seance at the Winchester.
Except for when Houdini was alive and went there.
So, okay, and see, this is why it's deceiving, because it says years after Houdini's death, people started to want to do seances at the Winchester Mystery House. But what he said right there doesn't mean that Houdini had anything to do with it. They might have just been like, oh, we want to do seances at the Winchester Mystery House because it's haunted. Because it's a location, it's a portal, But it has nothing to do with Houdini. It was the way he said it that made it sound.
Well, that's why when I was watching it, and then her final attempt at trying to contact him, she wanted to do it at the Winchester, but then she backed out, so she never did it at the Winchester. And I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. So she never actually ended up at the Winchester.
I'm glad that you knew that, because that is not how I understood it, the way he said it.
So Bess never actually did a seance there.
No, but Houdini did.
Houdini did.
At midnight when he was knocking on the door.
On Halloween night at midnight.
Drunk, trying to get in. Zak says, what powerful effect did the mansion have to convince Bess to change her mind and try again? And then he says, and what stopped her from going through with it? Ooh, did you hear that?
Spooky. Look at that. Well-timed thunder.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did find something else. So Bess's last attempt to contact Houdini was on top of the Knickerbocker Hotel roof in LA, and there's more to the phrase that they worked out.
Oh, the Rosabella believe?
Yes. So their secret code word was Rosabelle, followed by the phrase answer, tell, pray, answer, look, tell, answer, tell. A shorthand.
Ooh, that's cool.
A shorthand used between the two when they had been on stage together. In their code, it spelled believe.
That's so cool.
It kind of reminds me of what is the code for like the video game? Like A-B. No.
Rosebud.
No.
Oh.
left, right, left, left, right.
Yeah. A-B, up, down.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. Anyway, so Zak's like, we're going to do the seance that never happened. And then they all start saying, oh my God, we're getting chills. I was like, it felt so scripted when they were all like, ooh. Okay. So getting back to what we were talking about. So Zak tells the guys that they are going to be inviting Houdini's only known blood relative to this seance. His name is George Hardin, and he is the grandson of Houdini's brother, Theodore Hardin. Keep in mind that Hardin and Houdini were neither of their actual names, because wasn't Houdini's like real name Eric Weiss or something like that? They said it at the beginning of the episode, and I thought you were going to have it in your research, but I'm pretty sure
Eric Weiss. Yeah.
Eric Weiss. So I'm assuming his brother's last name or his brother's name was also not Hardin. So Zak explains how they are better equipped now to do this seance than ever before. He says, with our technology now, and it's a lot more than since 2011, and I'm assuming that that's when they went and investigated the Winchester Mystery House. He's like, and it's a whole lot more than the 1930s. Zak continues, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a monumental seance and investigation. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. So they look around the mansion for areas that Houdini would have been in when he visited in 1924, which I don't know how you could know that. But they meet Walter, who's the general manager, and Olivia, the assistant tour manager. As they begin to look around the mansion, Olivia thinks she sees someone in the distance of, I guess, it looks like it was like an atrium or a garden room or something. So she
was so faking.
Mel, you think that she's a faking faker.
1000%.
Olivia the faker.
Or also, we sometimes think we see things out the corner of our eyes.
Yeah, but not when there are a bunch of cameras on you for a ghost show. It's a convenient time to miss seeing something. She's like, oh, I thought I saw something over there.
So, okay. So after Olivia thinks she sees something in the house, Zak makes sure to tell us that they are the only living beings in the mansion. I'm like, why do you say these things? Like,
so we know about all the cats.
Living beings in the mansion at the moment.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So it couldn't be a cat. It couldn't be. How does he know? How does he know there's like not a roach in the house? A roach is a living being. He's a liar.
Yeah.
They're all liars. Okay. They move on to Sarah Winchester's seance room. And this is where she had her multicolored robes, a different robe for each spirit, which I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I wish
like, does she wear it?
Explained it more.
I was like, oh, so
did they put them on the spirit?
Yeah, does everybody get their own little baby chicken on their own little baby plate?
Oh, or do they have like everybody have their own robe and like they channel their own spirit?
Oh. Yeah, maybe it's that.
How does she know how many spirits there are?
That was my question. I was like, what do you mean you have a different color
maybe robe she has
for each spirit?
I'm sure she has a medium on her payroll.
Maybe it's like Inside Out and that one's for sadness. Over here's joy.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, going back to the fact that this sounded like she might have had schizophrenia or something, this actually tracks that she would have, or like an OCD type of thing where it's like, okay, I have to wear this color robe to contact this spirit type of thing.
Yeah. That sounds like more accurate. She's like, oh no, it's this ghost. I got to put this one on.
Yeah. But everybody seems obsessed with these robes, and Houdini had actually commented.
They're probably beautiful.
Oh, I'm sure they're like silk, like gorgeous.
Velvet, silk.
I want to be draped in a seance robe. They sound lovely.
I'm really sad that capes like went out of fashion,
I know.
I just think that would have been really, like the hoods and like a cute little brooch.
But like, are they out of fashion? I mean, you could wear it. So I was so confused. I thought there was more than one seance room in this house because they do the seance in the dining room.
Okay, why didn't they do the seance in the seance room?
That's why I was so confused. And then they also, and we'll get to it like in a little bit, but they also have like the witch's cap, which they think was actually where she did the seances. And I was like, why did we do this in the dining room? Like, was it so that we could fit everybody and all the cameras?
Probably. I bet it's like a really long, confusing way to get to the seance room.
All right. There's so many rooms in this house. You could do a seance in every single one. Then they also mentioned that, so that witch's cap that I'm talking about, Houdini had specifically mentioned that his seance was in a seance room without corners so that the spirits won't hurt themselves coming in and out.
Okay, so when they said this, and then they went to that round room, like the turret, and they're like, we think that this is the seance room, that made me realize that they don't actually know where the seance room is.
Yeah.
They're just guessing at this point.
Yes. Yeah. They know that
where the Houdini one was, right? That didn't happen.
Where he was saying where the seance happened with no corners. And I'm like, oh, so they don't actually really know where this place is.
Yeah. All that they know for sure that they said was that the wardrobe room where those cloaks were, where the robes were, that was where she kept the robes for the seances. So then I think they maybe assumed that that's where the seances happened. But then based on what Houdini says, it sounds like it was actually in the witch's cap. So I don't know. But I didn't understand what they were talking about when they said so that the spirits won't hurt themselves coming in and out. I was like, what sharp corner? Like, of
also,
a room?
The goal of the house is to confuse them and trap them. Like, we're really concerned about them hurting themselves on corners.
It didn't make sense. I was like, I'm not comprehending why we would think that they were going to get hurt. I mean, supposedly they can walk through walls. Like, I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So Walter had mentioned that they had an article that detailed Houdini's visit to the mansion. So Olivia takes the guys to go look at it, and they meet Amelia, the senior marketing manager. Amelia tells Zak that Houdini personally clipped off this piece of paper and put it in an envelope and sent it to John Brown. John Brown was the homeowner after Sarah Winchester had passed away in 1922. Amelia tells him at the top of the article, it is signed, "Regards, Houdini." Zak looks like he's about to shit a brick with excitement when he hears this. Amelia immediately tells him he cannot touch it because it's very old and could disintegrate. And then Zak says, I have to touch it.
He touches it.
Did he actually touches
it? He's like, so this is Houdini's signature.
I was taking my notes and I was like trying to watch while I was taking my notes, and I missed that.
He points at the signature. And I was like, oh my God, he just fucking touched it. He did.
He's ridiculous because he says, after some negotiation, I agreed not to touch the newspaper. But then I thought about it. I was like, how did that negotiation go? He begged and begged and begged. They kept saying no. And then he still ended up touching it.
I negotiated not to touch it.
He was like, oh, they keep saying no. I'm still going to do it. I'm going to do it anyway.
She said it was going to fall apart. Like, don't be such an ass.
Have respect for history, Zak. Okay. So Zak then takes the newspaper, not touching it. It was in a box. So he takes it in its little box and brings it to the ballroom to see if he can elicit a reaction from Houdini before their seance. If I were a ghost and somebody took a document that I had signed a really long time ago, like a random document in all of my years of life, and then brought it into a random room and was like trying to summon me, I don't know that would have gotten my attention.
Got me going.
You wouldn't have been the first in line? Like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this.
I feel like I'd be more focused on.
No, I would have been like, oh, that's where it went.
I've been looking for
that.
I've been
looking for that.
So Zak begins trying to talk to Houdini, and he says, "Harry Houdini, are you here?" Billy is holding the EMF reader and tells us that at the very beginning there was a 67 milligul spike. What the fuck is a milligul?
Word salad.
I was like, what's a milligul? I've never heard that.
No unit of measurement I've ever heard, but
I did notice that he is filming the EMF reader with his phone, and Zak also has his phone out, so those devices could be messing with the
I looked it up.
Reader. I know you did.
You saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, phones
they do.
They do.
Oh.
So yeah. So that could have been a
That's
little
really
sneaky
stupid of them. Why would they use them?
Mm-hmm.
They need to put their phones in a basket.
Yeah, or like those pouches.
I'll finish my thought so people understand what we're saying. Phones will emit electromagnetic field radiation, so it can set off a EMF detector.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody has a smartphone in their pocket these days.
But like when you go to a concert, like for certain, or a comedian or something, and they'll make you like put your phone in a special pouch where like you can't access it, so you can't film anything. Or like I've been to a few shows where they've done that. That's what they need. They need those like RFID pouches that like no radiation can get out of or whatever.
I do remember taking it back to flip phones for a second. I had like a stereo system in my room, and if I left my Razor phone near the stereo and someone was calling me and I was listening to music, it would like
do the click, 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 click.
It would make these radio mess up sounds, and I knew I was getting a call because it was, and then my phone would ring. So
I totally forgot about that. Wow. Deep cut. So Zak then tells us that it's commonly believed that Houdini gave the Winchester Mystery House its name.
Congratulations. Good job.
They keep cutting to this weird reenactment footage, which I thought, Mel, you would have called this out by now, and you haven't said it yet. Did you notice the weird footage of like the guy who's supposed to be Houdini kind of standing in the shadows?
Yes.
It was so creepy.
It's weird. It's weird that they put these like spooky sounds in there, and they're almost these like jump scare moments that I'm annoyed with, because that's not what I'm coming here for. I'm not coming here for jump scares. Okay, I'll watch an actually like well done horror flick.
It's also like the way they made this guy look. Like he looked like a creepy butler, and like most of the time you can't see his face.
And the camera angle's like really low,
like a real person.
Yeah,
they did the reenactments.
They were like cuts, like B-roll cuts that they would put in of a guy who was like supposed to look like he was Houdini wearing a tuxedo in the shadows, like making Houdini look like a super creep in the house. And I'm like, well, why is this creepy?
I don't know why. I don't remember.
They did it with the last episodes too, Lauren.
And we were confused. We didn't know if it was really
it was like a choose your fighter kind of thing. No.
A Mortal Kombat.
You know what?
I don't remember.
That's all right. All right.
So
I'm like, did they play that for me on my TV? I don't remember that.
So Zak now meets with John Cox, who is a Houdini expert. So this is the horn, Lauren. John tells us...
I've been waiting.
Yeah,
it looks like a telescope.
John tells us that Houdini was a seeker. And I was like, oh, I like that term.
I was
like,
Mel.
I feel like I'm a seeker.
Oh, yeah. Can I be a seeker instead of a skeptic?
I feel like we're seekers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he says Houdini was seeking the truth, and he believed in spiritualism. So he was exposing mediums because he was trying to look for the real deal. And I was like, I feel like that's what we do. We want these things to be real, but if we see something that we're like, I don't know, that's just not
we're not
doing it blindly. Yeah.
I wonder if there's this might just be complete coincidence, but if there's any tie to Harry being a seeker, Harry Houdini being a seeker of truth, and Harry Potter being a seeker.
Well, that's why I was pointing to you, because I was like, the Harry Potter reference,
Because I mean, I can see like Houdini being an inspiration for the name Harry or something. I just had never
Google it. Not right now, but
yeah,
I'll Google it later and find out, because I'm curious. Zach believes that if Houdini's spirit is there, that they will be able to contact him because of their previous investigation experience. He's very confident in himself. John then brings out a spirit trumpet. It is basically a long, skinny cone with holes at both ends, kind of like a megaphone. And mediums would use this as a tool in seances. They would set it on the table and turn out the lights during a seance, and supposedly this thing would levitate and spirits would speak through it, though there have been no documented cases of it actually levitating.
And it's like metallic looking.
Yeah.
And it looks like an old sea captain telescope thing.
Yes. Yeah. John goes on to tell us that the trumpet he's holding was actually Houdini's spirit trumpet, and Zach acts like a cartoon character now. Like, his eyes are bugging out of his head, losing his mind. He's like, oh my God, this is Houdini's. And then, of course, he immediately has to hold it because he's allowed to touch this, and he wasn't allowed to touch the newspaper.
So.
Wait, insert. It's time to read the tea with Lauren.
Reading the tea with Lauren. So, here are my thoughts between the trumpet and the newspaper. When I saw Zach's eyes light up when he saw both of those, and then it got me thinking about the falling out between him and Nick. It made me think that Zach, I feel like he's almost like a trophy hunter. He's almost like collecting like trophy, like ghost trophies.
Quite literally.
The way his eyes lit up, I felt like he was like, I want this for my museum.
Like a poacher.
Yeah, like a poacher. Like he just is making it about like fame and just like collecting things, and it's not about the ghost anymore.
I totally agree. The way his eyes lit up when he saw the trumpet, I was like, oh, I could read his mind. It was like he wanted that for his museum. I would not be shocked if we find out that he actually gets that and puts it in his museum.
Well, and the fact that he wanted to touch the newspaper and they told him not to. And then he was so insistent. It just felt so invasive.
Yeah.
And just like
very elitist.
And he felt it was just he was entitled to that.
It's just disrespectful. Like,
yeah.
I don't feel
it was a part of history, and he felt like he deserved to touch that. Like, it was his property, like it, not like it was this part of history and he should respect it. It's like, no, it's this thing that he could own.
Yeah.
It was disconnected a little bit.
It's also like we said last week, like the weirdness about the Cabbage Patch doll. That's not a haunted artifact.
Yeah.
It was a doll owned by a girl who was in a movie and then she died. But like the doll itself had no haunting significance. So it was weird that was something that he was like, oh, I have this in my museum.
He uses them to kind of mislead. Like he's definitely doing a lot of
misdirection.
Misdirection and appropriate for Houdini. But a lot of just connecting things that don't actually have a connection and banking on the viewers not being able to put that together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I saw his eyes light up, I totally was like, that's exactly what happened between him and Nick. And that's the tea.
And that was the tea from Lauren. Diddly-doo.
Thank you, Lauren. Ooh, more thunder. Okay, so Amelia takes John and the guys up to the witch's cap, which we have been talking about. This is the room that they think Sarah may have held her seances in. And as they're walking into the room, Aaron says, whoa, I just heard a hee hee hee. in my ear. Do you think he actually heard anything, or do you think
I really don't like Aaron the medium? I think it ruins him, and I'm sad that this is like when he speaks up, it's for a medium moment.
Always a medium moment. Yeah. Zak mentions that when investigating another property in San Francisco, they learned that seances were often held in a turret or the round part of an attic, and it would often have the rafters removed so that the energy could channel upwards towards the sky. So this witch's cap appears to be a turret as well, like the same type of round room, but it still has its rafters.
Yeah, so, I think at this point, this may not have been a memorable thing to write down, but I thought it was funny. Zak says some sort of quote before commercial break, and it's like, have we just found what would have possibly been the seance room for Houdini? And I was just thinking, do we think Zak narrates his life like this? You know, like,
I would love.
Have we just found what we'll eat for dinner? Spaghetti.
Have we just ran out of toothpaste?
Yes. Have we just eaten the last bite of cereal? Find out next.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is going to be an incredible grocery run.
He wakes up and looks in the mirror and he's like, "Hi, my name is Zak."
Hi, I'm Zak Bagans.
And this is
Nick and Aaron. Or no, he wakes up and he looks in the mirror and goes, "Hi, I'm Zak Bagans. Fuck Nick and Aaron, I'm the best." He just gives himself a little motivational.
So he tells us that it's day 2 of their seance/investigation, and Zak sends Aaron, Jay, and Billy to San Francisco to gather Houdini artifacts. This very much felt like they just wanted a day to go and explore San Francisco, so this was their excuse to go do that.
Yep.
I was like, okay.
Maybe you should have like gone to Houdini's house if you wanted to contact Houdini, not the Winchester house, a place he went one time.
Yeah, well, this gets super weird because then they hop around all these places in San Francisco collecting pieces of buildings. I was like, do you really think this is going to channel Houdini? It's not like it's his shirt or something that belonged to him. This
like
is a
touched
piece
this building
of a building. So strange. So they pull a piece off the Hearst building, which is where Houdini thrilled crowds by escaping from a straitjacket while hanging upside down 50 feet in the air, which...
That's probably what he's most known for. Like when you think of Houdini, that's
you think of the straitjacket, like
hanging between 2 buildings. Like absolutely insane.
Yeah. So Billy grabs a random piece of metal off the building. Then they go to the Golden Gate Theater, where Houdini performed on April 21st, 1923. And Jay grabs a piece of stucco off the building. Then they go to the Civic Center, which is where Houdini narrowly escaped a burning at the stake stunt. And Aaron just picks up a loose rock and Zak says... He picked it up from where Houdini battled the flame.
Do you think they brought all this stuff back? And Zak is like, what are we doing? Building a house or having a seance? Like, what is with all of these?
Or Zak's like, I asked you guys to go get artifacts. Like, what is this garbage? Like, why did you bring garbage back?
I know. Tell an archaeologist that rocks aren't artifacts. Zachary.
Cool. Okay. So the guys went and picked up their garbage from the street and...
Literally.
And Zak tells us that these trigger objects will be on the table during the seance. So now we meet George Hardin, Houdini's great nephew, who will participate in the seance. At this point, I finally noticed what Zak was wearing. I don't know how it escaped me up until this point, unless maybe because this is day 2. That's why. Yeah. He must have been wearing something else on day 1. But day 2 stood out to me because I felt like he was kind of dressed like David Rose from Schitt's Creek. He had on like
that's an insult.
That's an insult, but I felt like he was trying because at least David Rose is wearing like designer stuff that's quality. I don't know what he was wearing. He had on this like black t-shirt, with a black button down over it, and then black fingerless gloves where like just the little tiniest bits of his fingers were like poking out.
I totally missed that.
Yes, and it made his hands like look kind of tiny.
No, I did notice his hands looked really small at one point.
And I was like, what is happening?
That's so funny you mentioned that. I never would have remembered to bring that up. But yeah, when he was, I don't know if it was him going for the trumpet or something, but I was like, man, he looks like he's got baby hands.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I want to touch it. And I was like, what are you wearing?
That is one thing that will give me the ick. I can't do the small hands with the guys with small hands. I can't. I really can't. Like, he can be really hot and big and tall and buff, but if he has small hands, and more so if he has like narrow fingertips. I don't know what it is. If he's
narrow fingertips, like, I know what you mean.
Narrow fingertips.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
like if the fingertips are like kind of like pointy, I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
if they come to a point, I don't know what it is. Oh, it's the ick.
I mean, there's a thing about hands though. Like their hands are attractive.
You have to have big hands or at least also, normal size hands.
It's like, have you ever seen Megan Fox's thumb?
Yeah.
Oh, is it a hammerhead?
She's got like the thumb.
Is that what it's called? Like, yeah, she has one of those thumbs.
The hammer thumb. Yeah.
Where it's like only, it looks like it's like half of a fingernail.
Actually, I can't say that. My cousin has that. I love you, Katie.
You just told the whole world. You just told the whole world that Katie has a bad thumb.
Oh, I'm sure she's not hiding it.
Wait, is it Katie or Sammy?
Be proud of who you are and what thumbs you have.
My cousin has it. She has beautiful thumbs.
So George tells us that his grandfather, Theodore Houdini, was not only Houdini's brother, but also Houdini's partner, up until the point that Houdini married Bess. And then Bess became Houdini's partner, and Theodore went off and did his own magic escape act. But they would challenge each other, and the public did not know that they were brothers. So people would love to see them go head to head, and they thought they were like enemies. But you know, good old theatrics.
They did choose like weirdly similar stage names.
Yeah, Houdini and Houdini.
You know when Houdini picked his name, like imagine like two brothers, being like, man, come on, Houdini. You couldn't think of anything else.
Yeah.
Another letter.
That they had they argued there for.
And also because their real last name was like Weiss or something like that.
Yeah. They're Hungarian.
You could have picked anything. So Zak begins to imply that while many tried to summon Houdini, they were never successful. But George claims that this is not entirely true. He believes that as soon as Houdini's name is even being mentioned, that his presence is there, even if you can't see him or hear him. He says, all you need to do is say the name Houdini, and that evokes the energy that is Harry Houdini.
I'm sorry. This guy George was a crock of shit.
No, I actually was going to say, I appreciate how into it he was.
He was very into it.
He was
guys,
so annoying and weird.
Do you not understand that this means that Harry Houdini is here with us right now?
I'm so sorry, Harry.
We didn't summon him, though.
No,
George. No, you just speak his name according to George.
George said, all you need to do is say the name Houdini, and that evokes the energy that is Harry Houdini.
Does that mean if I just say Jude Law out loud really fast, he'll appear here too? Or Jesse Williams. Please come here. It didn't work.
Okay, so Zak asks George if he's ever felt the spirit of Houdini around him. George matter-of-factly says, yeah. Zak looks at him shocked and says, you have? So apparently George was a teacher of meditation in 1972, and he explains that spirits are not unusual to him. They talk about what George thinks happens when you die, and then Zak asks if he's ready to get started, and George says, I've been ready my whole life.
When he said that, I was like, I had two thoughts. I was like, oh my God, he's so fanboying right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or two, you think this is the first time he's tried to channel Houdini?
No.
I think this is the first time that he's on TV being recognized as the blood of Houdini. Yeah. And I feel like his fun fact at work is like they do 2 truths and a lie. He tells everybody that he's related to Harry Houdini.
Because he says something in the chair. He's like, Harry, I talk to you all the time. So it's definitely not his first.
Yeah.
He's sitting on the toilet and he's like, hey, Harry, how you doing? Let's have a conversation. Like in his everyday life. Good Lord. Zak tells us that this is going to be their most historic seance ever. So.
How many times can you say that about your episode? This is going to be the insert thing here ever.
Literally every
episode.
I'm pretty sure he's like, this is the most epic, iconic, historic thing to ever happen.
So funny.
Every time. So in addition to Billy, Aaron, Zak, and George, Zak has also invited Patty Nigiri. Patty Nigiri is like a sushi or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Patty,
with the rice.
Patty Negri, a psychic medium, and Warlock Christian Day. Patty looks like what you'd assume a psychic would look like.
Can we describe the entrance, though?
Oh, when she's like walking towards the camera.
They're like this.
Doing their little runway walk.
They're like, walking in with this like vibe.
She walks in like she's on a runway. Christian Day, on the other hand, he looks like he's playing the part of a warlock in a movie.
Or LARPing.
He's playing the part.
Yeah. He's definitely playing the part. And he's decked out in a pleather, or what I'm assuming is like a vegan leather, because that's what they call it now. A vegan leather shirt.
No, it's a hooded cape.
No, yes, that also. Oh. He had on, it was like, ostrich like leather, where it's like got the bumps.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. He had on a vegan leather shirt like that, and then also a leather cloak on top of that.
The metallic cloak, with hooded cloak.
Yes. Okay. And then he also had on a pentagram necklace.
Yep. I'm looking at a picture of him now.
And the most black eyeliner that we've seen since Harry Houdini wore the eyeliner.
And he had his...
Very Green Day.
But he was very fierce, and he had his arms crossed.
Oh.
Like he was in What We Do in the Shadows.
He completed his look with silver and black rings on every finger. And then when we meet him, he crosses his arms over his chest and stares deathly into the camera like he's in a coffin.
Okay, can I just say that when this guy popped up, I initially thought it was Aaron, like cosplaying. He was Aaron. With a bunch of I was like, is that Aaron? Like, I had no idea why someone would be dressed like that.
Because he's also bald.
It just for a minute, and with the eyeliner, eyeliner really changes what people look like. I thought it was Aaron for a hot second.
Well, I thought this was amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, I love the introduction of these two guests. I was like,
yeah,
I'm in.
Let's be very clear that I am not mocking him. I'm just stating what he was wearing. But I was like, he is serving. Like, he was serving absolutely. Warlock. It was, if he walked by you on the street, you would know he was a warlock. You would not question.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no question about it. He was a warlock.
No. I am a little I guess we'll get there in the seance, but I am a little bit like, what did he do? What was his role?
Oh, he was like channeling energy with his hands. If you remember I just finished watching this right before we got on this call. So.
And she was leading the seance?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They were there together. They were jointly doing it. So, Lauren, I felt like this was very much up your alley. Zak says, Warlock Christian Day operates a shop dedicated to old world folk witchery and communion with the dead.
I would love that.
Y'all, Houdini was kind of hot.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Sorry. I was just looking at this picture of him.
Looks nothing like Wright.
He's kind of hot.
Can we put up a side by side of Houdini and Wright on the screen?
I mean, he's kind of cute, guys.
He's
very buff.
Yes, he was in very, very good shape. They all head to the first floor dining room where they are going to hold this seance. At the head of the dining table, they leave a seat open for Harry Houdini to invite him. Beside it, we see a giant portrait of Harry Houdini himself with the spirit trumpet aimed at the mouth. And
that they brought in there because why would there be a portrait of Houdini here?
Oh, yeah. And then at one point, Zak refers to it as his photo, and then he says his painting. And I was like, you know that some PA had to go get that printed like at the last second.
Yeah.
So on the table itself, we see a Ouija board, which they don't actually like use, but I guess they have it on the board, on the table, and then a crystal ball. Zak explains that there are 2 EMF detectors propped up on the arms of Houdini's chair. They also have a boom mic at the other end of the spirit trumpet, which is recording back to the nerve center where Jay was monitoring the camera audio. I wrote Billy and I was incorrect. And then I said, Jeff. Who is Jeff? Did y'all notice that there was suddenly a new person named Jeff on the crew? That at least we have never met. Maybe people know who he is from other episodes and like other seasons.
Is he the camera guy?
Pretty much. He eventually tells us that he's like an their electrical something.
Oh, is he the nerve center guy?
No.
That was Jay.
That was Jay. So Zak says Jeff has cameras set up and asks him to explain. Mystery Man Jeff.
Jeff is the new old Aaron?
Yeah, I guess.
What
we have to. I am sure that they introduced him in like other episodes or something, but it was just so random for me. I was like, who is this man? Where did he come from?
Yeah.
Anyways, Jeff says that he has the SLS pointing at Houdini's chair, as well as a SLS2 that can give us a facial recognition. Jeff tells us that it works in infrared at the same time. Further away from the table, they have a few night vision cameras set up. Zak also mentions that we have cameras set up in the witch's cap room and the other seance room, or the wardrobe room, whatever you want to call it. So Zak pulls out the Ovilus and puts it next to the EMF reader. As soon as he puts it down, the Ovilus gets 2 readings, one that says beckon and then one that says call. Patty begins ringing a bell, and then she recites a poem. Or a chant. I don't know. It's a seance-y.
It was a poem.
Spell.
It was a poem. I felt like I was at slam poetry listening to most of this seance, but
so during this whole thing though, did anybody look at George's face?
No, I was not looking at George. Why? What did he do?
It looked like he was trying to hold in a laugh the entire time. Like when you're trying to not laugh during an inappropriate time.
Yeah.
Like he was like this.
He had like this kind of creepy looking grin on his face towards the end.
Yeah, and he says like, this whole time I've been feeling joyful. Like,
it's weird.
It was like a creepy.
Yeah. Creepy thing. I don't know. It looked like he was like trying not, like, I think he didn't know what he was getting himself into. Like when she was like being very dramatic during the reading, like I think he was like, oh my God.
Well, because she and Warlock Christian Day were both doing crazy things where she's rocking back and forth and like screaming.
And he was just like,
he was probably like, what am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing?
Like, I wasn't expecting this.
So she says, there is a place where we all go, where near the frost or cold winds blow, and our friends remembered reunite, and those who hate forget their spite. We gather around these gentle beings. We call you now to bless our meeting. She then says, with the ring of this bell, and she rings the bell loudly, we lift the veil twixt heaven and hell. We call the spirits to us now as we make this sacred vow. She bangs on the table 3 times. As we slowly lift the veil between worlds, we call you Harry Houdini. Come to this table now. We call you Spirit. Spirit, with your flesh and blood beside us here. Houdini, make your presence clear. Christian is in a state through this whole thing. He has his hands up like he's praying or channeling something. And then he begins to speak with his eyes closed and says, Harry Houdini, your link sits to my right, referencing George. I draw upon your energy through him. You who could escape any trap set by man, surely you can cross the rivers of death and the veils between the worlds to join us here tonight. If anyone could escape the traps of death, it is you. And then he rings a bell.
Hey, you know what's funny about this whole thing is like if I were a ghost in that house and Houdini has nothing to do with that house and all the ghosts are looking at each other and being like, why are they calling Houdini?
Yeah.
Like
all the ghosts are being like, why do they keep on calling Houdini? Houdini's not here.
Yes.
Like Houdini's never been here.
They're
who's Houdini?
No.
Who's Houdini?
Harold? Could it be we've got a Harold here?
Yeah. No. Why do they keep on
Harold,
calling
can you do magic? Oh
yeah.
No, he's right terrible at magic. I don't think this is your guy.
Yeah.
So Patty continues, from the bonds of life you did escape, yet love remains, it did not break. Houdini, hear our heartfelt plea, come forth and from eternity.
Bubble.
Yes, toilet trouble.
Okay, I seriously want to do a seance at the Winchester. Yeah, like
they're going to be like, another seance.
So, but all of this, okay, I'm going to get to that part. Zak now chimes in. Harry Houdini, of course, this to me, so Christian and Patty had both prepared things to say. Like they had like their process of what they were going to do. I feel like this part with Zak was not planned. Zak was just like, oh, we're all speaking to Houdini? Oh, okay, I'm going to do it too. And he's like, he says, Harry Houdini, you did a lot of what we do now when you were alive. You were very curious about the afterlife. Zak reminds Harry he had been there 100 years ago and that he was there at
Remember? Because it wasn't very memorable, guy.
Right, exactly.
Remember that random night?
Yeah, he's like,
100 years ago?
Remember that night you were drunk and you just kind of walked into that house?
Yeah. It wasn't really worth your time, so you left.
You wandered in here.
You wandered in, you got lost because there's so many rooms.
You're blacked out.
He says,
we still talk about it to this day.
He says, if there is any place for you to walk through the door, the thousands that are here, please choose the one where we can see you. So now we see another ITC video loop. I hate this thing.
I said, oh my God, video feedback loop.
Another feedback loop.
Oh yeah, the projecty thing.
Yeah, it is. I hate this thing.
I still don't get I couldn't tell if that was what we were watching was supposed to be.
Was it supposed to be
something was happening, or it just always looks like that?
Same, 1000%. Because they do tell us, okay, this is the piece of equipment that perplexed us in the last episode. This is set up in Sarah Winchester's seance room. So Patty says, in this house of endless doors, Houdini, let your spirit soar. She has mastered the art of rhyming. She really knows what she's doing. She tells us that she feels like he's opening a door somewhere. So they pick something weird up on the video loop. And this is what you're talking about, Mel. It literally just looked like I made it
like a swirl.
Oh, the swirl, yeah.
Like in Adobe Illustrator. Like I was like, what is this? How am I supposed to know that this is something? It looks like nothing. Like I don't know what I'm looking at. I hate this thing. So then while this is happening...
we do have a new piece of equipment, though, that Mel has not been introduced to.
The paranormal puck?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Puck?
Yeah. So while this is happening, Jay uses the paranormal puck to play hockey at Nerve Center, which is kind of like, from what I could gather, it was kind of like an Ovilus type of thing, but he can type the question into it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that was the app. I wrote ghost apps. Oh my. Okay. Yes, I do remember that now.
So he typed into it, are you here, Sarah? And then he received the word candle. Zak tells us that in Sarah's seance room, there are candles hanging from the ceiling. Okay.
Didn't they also just like use candles during that time?
They also had a candle just sitting on the chair that they wanted Houdini to sit in.
On the chair, yeah.
Yeah.
So Zak says Aaron is now trying another ITC device to try and hear voices from the other side. So Zak shouts into the room, "Hey, Houdini, I want you to repeat this." Which he didn't want him to repeat it. He wanted him to finish the sentence. So he didn't know what he was talking about. He says, "Never tell the audience how good you are. They will soon find out for ... Then we hear the spirit box say Zak. Didn't the last episode we also heard it say Zak? I've heard this a lot. Like in a lot of episodes, we hear the spirit box say Zak. And I'm like, I don't want to assume that everything is fake because I do believe a lot of stuff. But I'm like, how do I know it's not just like Jay in the nerve center being like, Zak? Like in a way.
It needs to say Aaron every once in a while.
Yeah.
My question is how was he supposed to finish that sentence?
Oh yeah. Never tell the audience how good you are. They will soon find out for ... themselves.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. You guys didn't. I mean, I'm just assuming that was like a thing that Houdini used to say.
I don't know.
So after the spirit box says Zak, now we get George. George gets excited and says, "Uncle Harry, can you hear me?" He's just like so eager to talk to him.
Yeah.
Jeff of Mysterious Man Jeff says, "Something is trying to form right now in black. We see a black figure blipping and trying to appear on the portrait." Zak finally tells us who Jeff is. He says he's their electrical engineer. So had no idea they had an electrical engineer, but makes sense. We also see the same anomaly that was appearing in the portrait, now appearing on the empty chair. They start feeling ice cold air, and Zak says that's strange because it's extremely hot in there and that there is no air conditioning. Billy, who is sitting at the farthest end of the table, says that he can feel the cold air coming across the table and down to where he is. So that to me was kind of creepy because it's like when you blow on ice. Like I'm just picturing it like misty, like the cold spreading over him. Mm-hmm. So suddenly the Ovilus says, "Unlock witch." Zak asks if this is Houdini telling Patty and Christian to unlock the gates to the afterlife.
That's a lot of filling in.
I love his interpretations of the words he gets.
Yeah. Or maybe there are like 3 million doors in the house that need unlocking.
Yeah.
Or the witch's cap. Unlock the door to the witch's cap.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why ghosts really need doors, but I don't fully understand the spiritual realm. So,
but why interpret it that way and not
but what you just said makes so much more sense because if Houdini did do a seance in the witch's cap and he was able to unlock something there, that could be what he was saying. So now Zak asks George to go sit in the empty chair. They hand George a spirit box and he says, "Uncle Harry, it's George. You know my voice. I talk to you all the time." We suddenly hear distorted speaking, but nothing decipherable. George says, "I'm with friends here. Let them hear you and feel you." George tells us that since he's gotten to the house, he has just had this sense of joy. Right after George says this, a large black spherical-shaped anomaly appears and then vanishes right near his head.
Which is interesting that he feels joy because I feel like joy is like the last feeling that most people feel with spirits. Don't you agree, Char? It's usually sadness or depression or like anxiety
or like overwhelmed
or overwhelmed.
General. Yeah.
But it's never joy.
Yeah.
It's never because death is usually associated with anxiety, sadness, depression,
maybe acceptance sometimes.
Yeah, acceptance, but it's never joy.
Yeah,
it's never joy. You know,
joy is.
But maybe it's not the feeling that Houdini had in death. Maybe it's just maybe he was a very joyful person in life. And if his presence was there, that's what George is feeling. I don't know. I also think George was
we're also thinking we're talking to Houdini.
I think George was also just very excited to be on TV.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was more of a euphoric experience for him.
Yeah.
George was feeling some joy. That I can say is true.
Yes, he definitely was feeling something. Don't know if it was Houdini. So now they put on UV glasses. So Aaron can take extended exposure ultraviolet Polaroid pictures, while Billy explains that he's recording with his ultraviolet camera. Aaron is snapping the pictures. George continues to speak to Harry. He asks him if he remembers this house. So the Ovilus reads, window through power. Through being THROUGH. Zak says, through the window? Power through the window? But that drives me crazy because he knows how the Ovilus works. The Ovilus gives you a word, and then when it gives you another word, it moves that first word down. So to me, it would make no sense that the order you'd be getting this in, like the order he received it in, was window through power.
Oh, I know. They kept on doing that.
Yeah,
they kept doing that. I'm like, that you keep reading the words backwards.
Yeah, and then making up what it meant with the backwards words. Yeah, I was like, no, that's not. You can't. Don't do that. So what he actually got was window through power, which could have a totally different meaning than through. Wait, what was the other way?
Power through window.
Power through window. So I can't tell you what I think exactly it meant, but still interesting. So Zak explains that the windows have a lot of meaning in this house. At the beginning, he had said that there were over 10,000 windows. Zak asks, Harry, is there somewhere in this house you want us to go? The Ovilus says, make trip. Or again, trip make was what it actually said. But maybe it did mean make trip in this case. Billy says, you just said we need to make the trip to the other room. So here is one of my questions. And Lauren, I wonder if you have this thought as well. When they're using the Ovilus, they said that it can like channel, it can feel the spirit, right? Like it can feel what the spirit is, sense what the spirit's trying to say or whatever, and then uses that energy to spit out these words that are from that dictionary. But how do we know that it's not also channeling like Zak's energy or like somebody else in the room's energy of what they're thinking?
That's actually really true. I mean, that's a great point.
Because there's so many
like
times,
the person who's holding it.
Yes. There's so many times where like it will say something, it'll say the same thing or something similar to what they just said or what they're talking about. And I'm like,
well, like think about people who are paralyzed or like
quadriplegic.
Yeah, exactly. Or just like that whole thing.
Yeah.
Or like technology like that. Or I guess that's based off of where they're looking.
Elaborate on what Lauren meant. She's referring to when like a quadriplegic has like a little screen hooked up to their head and it can do the words that the person is thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have questions about this just because I've seen this happen so many times on the show where like he literally just was talking about how they needed to make a trip to the other room and now it's saying make trip. And I'm like, maybe it's just channeling what like Zak's energy. Maybe that's why it says Zak all the time because Zak's a narcissist and he's thinking about himself all the damn time.
Well,
we did it. We solved it.
Well, and if it's pulling energy, I mean, what if it's just the person who's holding it, you know?
That is one of my theories, is that it could just be pulling the energy from the person. Yeah. So Zak asks Harry where he wants them to go, and then the Ovilus says poem writing, and then Patty says that she's been channeling Harry for the last 2 days to write her poems. Again, was it not just picking up on the sense that she was wondering, I wonder if they liked my poems for the show. I wonder how that sounded. I hope that was good. And then it said poem writing. So now I guess they all decide that Harry was telling them to go to the witch's cap. I don't know how they made that decision, but that's what they decide to do. So
which again, Why didn't they do the seance in the seance room?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm going to go with production.
Couldn't get all the equipment up there.
It's inconveniently far from a bathroom. I do think it is a production, or it's too dark.
Or maybe also the floor couldn't hold them. Like, it's like...
Oh.
Yeah. Because it is like
or the stairwell is too narrow for...
No, you know what? He said that there's no air conditioning there and that it was really hot. I bet you it was like stifling up there because that's like one of the highest points of the house.
That makes sense.
So they head up there. Aaron is holding the spirit box when they suddenly hear it say Houdini.
It actually sounded like it.
Yeah. Oh, no. It said, I heard Houdini for sure. Mm-hmm. They all start freaking out with excitement. And Zak asks, now, can you tell us your great nephew's name?
Poor George.
And you hear the spirit box say, George, in a woman's voice.
Yeah.
Zak immediately...
The fucking ghosts are totally fucking with him now.
I think so too.
Little Georgie boy.
It's not...
It has nothing to do... Houdini's not there. It's just all the ghosts there fucking with them. They're all like, okay, we're all gonna like pretend.
Pretend you're Houdini.
Pretend that they're Houdini.
That guy's name is George.
That guy's name is George. Okay.
All right. Barbara.
You say George.
Barbara. Barbara. All right, Barbara, call out George's name.
No, Larry, you sit down. Okay, Larry, you sit down. Okay, you're not a part of this.
All right, Steve, call out Houdini's name now. All right, they're falling for it.
Yeah. That's what I
And they start laughing.
Yeah, they're like, hee hee hee. And then Aaron's like, did you hear the laughing? The ghosts are totally fucking with him right now.
I love it.
Zak wants to believe it's Sarah Winchester, so I'm picturing them being like, oh my God, he thinks it's Sarah. Like, she's not even here, guys.
Oh my God, if we were ghosts, that's what we would do.
Yeah, 1,000%. Definitely. So, to end their session, Christian Day holds hands with Patty and George to close them out by saying, we thank all the spirits of this place. We thank all the energies and forces and powers that have blessed us this night. Zak tells us that they started to notice a visual change in George.
I thought they were going somewhere with this.
Well, it goes somewhere. I guess it doesn't go where you thought it might have been going. Patty says, I know George is channeling. She says, look at that smile on him. And then we see George smile straight into the camera, but like in a weird, creepy trance. She says, it's Harry smiling through him. Like, I'm so glad you guys are doing this. George looks into the camera and says, I'm here and you don't see me.
No.
You don't think that was Harry Houdini?
No. Not even a little bit. Not even for a second. I think that was creepy-ass George being creepy-ass George.
He wants so badly to be Harry Houdini. Like, he is like, this is my claim to fame.
Yeah.
I am related to him.
Yeah.
He probably hates Theodore. He's like, why couldn't Harry be my dad?
Yeah.
Or my granddad?
Oh, you know that. Absolutely.
That's what keeps him up at night. Is that he's not truly a descendant of Houdini.
Crazy. Yeah.
So Aaron and Zak head back to Nerve Center to review the UV Polaroids that they had taken. They call everyone into the Nerve Center to show them what they found. Zak reveals a photo where they are all sitting at the table and there's these crazy light anomalies zigzagging all over the place.
This was actually really, I made a gasp when I saw it.
It was legit. And now, based on our theory about it being the ghosts fucking with them, I think that's totally what it was. They captured all the ghosts swirling around and fucking around.
Yeah, I mean, I think that place is absolutely haunted. It's just, I don't know. I don't think it's Houdini.
No, I don't think Houdini was there. It kind of looked like lightning or...
it was like a Tesla,
Yeah, Aaron was saying like a Tesla coil. So in the photo, we see that Patty keeps making a huge big deal about the fact that like George was the beacon for all of this light because the light looks like it's coming from George. And then at one point, Zak says, look at Christian's hands.
They are coming from his hands.
Trying to channel energy from his hands. And it looks like the light is coming from his hands. So Christian Day says, "This is science. Light carries information. Light is magic. Light is spirit." They are all like drunk on their own investigation right now. Like the energy is so high in the room. Like they're all freaking out. Christian tells us that what they are doing is proving that magic is real. And then we end on Christian and Patty in the witch's cap chanting.
Oh my gosh, but they're singing the same song.
It was some sort of like,
they were like humming. Yeah. I was like, what is the end of this clip? What are they humming and how do they know the same thing?
I must have just like turned it off.
It was when the credits were rolling, but
the credits like, started rolling. And I don't know. They were doing some sort of chant together.
Yeah.
So
all I know is I want to hang out with Christian and Patty.
Oh, same.
I would love to get Christian and Patty on our show.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
I wonder if they're based out of San Francisco. Zach said that he had used both of them before for things. So I wonder, because I'm like, ooh, if we went to the Winchester Mystery House, could we also like hit up Patty and Christian?
Yeah.
Do a little meet and greet.
That would be amazing.
So what do you guys think? Haunted or hoax?
Definitely haunted. Definitely not Houdini. That's my take.
I feel like Lauren and I often have the same take. I definitely do not think it was Houdini. I do think some ghosts do like to have fun. So I'm curious. I would love if we go to the Winchester house to ask, like, do you have playful spirits? Because if they do, that could have been them.
I mean, because they're intelligent spirits. So it's not like they're incapable of like fucking, especially if they're so intent on talking to Houdini. Yeah. Why wouldn't they be able to be like, oh yeah, it's Houdini, you know? It's not like
they're breaking the ghost code of ethics.
Yeah. It's like they don't care. It's like, yeah, we're going to give you what you want.
Yeah. So I think for me, one of the things when I think about this house is the curse or whatever was Sarah was tied to this reading she got, right, from this medium in Boston. Told her to keep building. I just said earlier that I think that reading, if it meant anything, it meant like grow your family, not grow your home, literally. So there weren't, to my knowledge, tragic deaths that occurred in this house or abnormal deaths that occurred in the Winchester house, other than the earthquake. I don't know for sure if anybody died in the earthquake. But if there were any ghosts there, to me, it would have to have just been Sarah and not the people killed by because I don't think that was a thing. I think she misunderstood.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it was like the ghosts of people who were killed by the guns. I think you're going back to the assumption that you haunt the place that you die in.
I think certain homes attract.
I also think that, like Clyde, the guy that they've said, like, I think sometimes people will haunt like a place that they've just spent a significant amount of time in. And so if you were like solely the groundskeeper of that place and you loved what you did, I don't know, maybe you went and spent a lot of time there. But like,
I guess if that were the case, wouldn't a lot more places be haunted?
Depends on whether or not people actually enjoyed their jobs.
No, I just mean in general, like if you don't just haunt where you die and you can just pick wherever you haunt, I just feel like there would be a lot more.
I think there probably are a lot more places that are haunted that you don't realize.
Yeah,
sure. I'm willing to accept that.
I think that's true, and I also think the other thing I've just from years of watching these shows and listening to podcasts and stuff, you don't have to only stay in one place. Like whatever's happening on the other side, like some ghosts or spirits will spend a lot of time in one place, but then there are people who will claim to have seen the same ghost in a different location. So I think that they have the ability to move around.
Well, that's what I was going to say is I think it works differently. So
By the way, my computer has like 5% battery left.
Okay.
I'll be quick.
You need to take your medication.
Yes,
so.
I do.
I was just going to say, I think just energy works differently, just how energy is different in different places. So like, just depending on how strong the energy is, ghosts are sometimes trapped in places where the energy is stronger. Sometimes there's portals where like ghosts will travel in and out of portals. Just like ghosts will stay in one place, but just like Charlie was saying, sometimes ghosts will actually travel in and out of places. Just like the Winchester house, I think that's the place that ghosts are attracted to, which I've heard.
Some places are considered portals, and places that are considered portals will tend to have more activity. Well, we did it, guys. We had some hiccups.
We did it.
But we made it through. Shadow people, please go leave us your ghost stories.
Yes,
please.
leave us a voicemail.
We cannot wait to hear them or read them. And until next time,
see you in the shadows.
Bye.
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 Thank you for listening to Paranormal Playback. Please share, subscribe, and review. If you want to engage with us on the socials, we are at Paranormal Playback. And if you would like to email us your own ghost story, add the words ghost story to the subject line and send it to paranormalplaybackpod@gmail.com. See you next time.